Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and with me is my best friend, Scott Bogman here, and we are out of bounds, and we are still standing after hours and hours and days of the NFL draft. It's funny, Boggs, my voice was actually doing pretty good. I thought for sure I would show up here Monday with nothing. I got a little left, and that's pretty good, and eventually we did get Shedeur Sanders landing somewhere. I didn't know what was going to happen first, if we were going to get a selection of a new pope or a selection of Shedeur Sanders. We got Shedeur Sanders just under the wire. I don't know what color the smoke was there in the Cleveland organization up the building. But Boggs, how are you holding up now that the dust has settled on another NFL draft?
I'm doing great. The draft was so much fun. I'm glad that it is over though, and that we have a landing spot for a lot of these guys, and now we can talk about the landing spot instead of the potential and where they're gonna go, and then watch Mel Kiper scream into the ether the whole weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I understand the Shedeur stuff was huge, and it was kind of, it seemed almost like, pointed and personal that Sanders, but it's you get to a certain point and okay, well, now do I want to bring the circus with the backup quarterback? No, not at all. So he fell even further. And
so the answer was no, we want to bring the circus with the fourth string quarterback. That's what we want to do.
I mean, is there a more Browns move? And by the way, also, don't hate the move for the Browns. You don't have a quarterback, take a million shots at what you should. That's what you should be doing. Get rid of Pickett, and go with Flacco and the two young guys.
There you go. Flacco and the two young guys. I love that band. Also, don't forget, we're live on our Twitch for Out of Bounds today, so you can always visit us live here, twitch.tv/fantasypros. Subscribe, and of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Fantasy Pros. We're trying to get to 300,000 this year, and we can do it with your help. Bogman, we're going to pick apart today the carcass of the draft. Talk about, some quick takes here on the landing spots of everybody. So let's just jump into it. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Cam Ward, at the end of the season, I went out there and I said, look, I like Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is a good kid. I think he's serious about football. I think he's got a lot of athletic ability. My concern is not Cam Ward so much as the Tennessee Titans' ability to surround Cam Ward with the right kind of tutelage to make him a successful NFL quarterback. That's where I stand. Now that the draft is over and done, do you share that concern that I have, or do you think that the Titans are perhaps in this new regime here under the ability to possibly make him something of maybe a fringy QB1 over time in fantasy?
I mean, this was Burrow's OC, right? So I think they
Sure.
know how to run an offense for sure. I'm not worried about that. It's just the personnel and the timing. And, they gave Will Levis a shot. And I think when you're in that situation, you have a brand new head coach, you don't know what you're doing at quarterback. There's not one in the draft that is super appealing to you. You go out and you let Will Levis have a shot. It was a disaster. It didn't work at all. So now at 1-1, you go and take a guy like Cam Ward. I think he's a good fit. I'll say this, in Superflex, he's going to be my second player. There's no other quarterback in this draft that is going to start, over half their games this season. So,
right.
I mean, maybe Tyler Shook, but we'll get to that in a minute. But for Cam Ward, overall, I have him at 18. Okay. I have him still. I got him behind Fields. I got him behind McCarthy.
That was going to be one of my questions too. Where do you have him with Fields? I see in the redraft so far too, he's in that same range as like Sam Darnold and Michael Penix. Would you take Ward over either of those guys?
No, I don't think so. Maybe
so either.
Darnold is a coin flip, but I'm not taking him over Penix. Not at all. So, he's got rushing upside too. I don't know if the Titans are going to let him do it. It's tough when you take a guy 1-1, specifically when he's learning. I think you're going to see a lot of handoffs in year one. They have some decent running backs there with Pollard and Spears. So, I think this landing spot is fine for him, and he can develop into more. I don't know that he ever bumps against QB1 upside. Maybe if the running upside is way more than I give it credit for, and the Titans let him do it, then great. But Trevor Lawrence has a lot of rushing upside. They never let him run.
That's true. They certainly haven't. Let's get to Jackson Dart, who the Giants moved back into the first round to select. I don't want to say it's surprising because I don't think it was. I know some people were shocked by this. I was not. This is their opportunity to get what they think could be that next dude, and he's going to be able to redshirt his first year. So will Jalen Milroe, who got selected by the Seahawks. I actually like the Milroe situation a tad better, to be honest with you, because you see the unique athletic ability. And even though I was tougher on Milroe than anybody, I really like those. Like, hey, you're in Seattle. Eventually, maybe, you have your time to really learn and grow. There's no pressure. Darnold's there, but Darnold's also not somebody that's going to evolve into some incredible franchise quarterback. You know what he is at this stage in his career, and he's a guy you can compete with. And then maybe you can get Milroe to a place where he can start to learn and get better. Of these two guys who are obviously, not going to be rushed out there anytime soon, Dart or Milroe, who do you have the most fantasy expectations for in the future?
I mean, fantasy expectations, it's definitely Milroe, but I
Right.
do think the window of him hitting is smaller than it is for Jackson Dart, probably. Not because of anything specific. It's more the inconsistency that he played with. Like, sometimes he looked like Lamar Jackson, and I'm not kidding. He looks like Lamar out there sometimes, a smaller Lamar, but he can make every single throw. He has so much juice in the run game, over 20 rushing touchdowns last season. He is an amazing athlete, but he's unbelievably inconsistent with his accuracy, right? But he is a guy that shows up. I saw this dumb reel where they were asking a bunch of the players, like, PlayStation or Xbox. He was one of the few that was like, I don't play video games.
Wow.
I play football.
Shocking.
So he's their first. He's a first in, first out type of a guy. So I bet on him. I would like to bet on Milroe. And Milroe's going to go behind Dart in every draft because he should. He wasn't a first round pick. First round picks get forgiven. They get extra shots. Look at Sam Darnold, got $100 million on his 5th spot.
Hey,
right?
look at Kenny Pickett, who's got another shot again too.
Got another shot to lose in competition, but he does have another shot. Like, Zach Wilson still has a shot, right? He's still in Miami. So you can be bad and still be forgiven, and there's always an offensive coordinator that says, former first round pick, we can fix him. So there is a difference. He does need to go a little bit higher than Milroe, but I would much rather have Milroe where he's going to go than Dart where he's going to go.
Winston, Mariota, the list goes on and on of the guys they'd say, yeah, sure. It's the same toxic relationship that women have about bad boys, right? I can fix him. I can fix him.
I can fix him.
It's
right.
the same deal.
It's offensive coordinators and then ladies. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Tyler Shuck, kind of a surprise, I think, a little bit. Look, he went to Louisville to run the pro style offense, and he did just that. He's had injury issues. He's got an age issue. And then you've got the Cleveland situation where they took Galen Gabriel. Gabriel left-handed. He's got a big arm, a little body. And then Shedeur Sanders is now in the same quarterback room. The fact that this quarterback room is as crowded as it is, and I'm not counting Watson because I don't think you're going to see Watson play for the Browns ever again. I think that's over.
You're going to see Watson play again.
Period. Yeah, I think he's done in the league. So they don't have 5 quarterbacks, they have 4, but still really they have none. So Browns quarterback situation here with those 2 kids and Shuck. Any insights you want to drop here now that we've had a little bit more time to think about it?
I guess my thing with Shuck is, like, who complains when they take Nussmeier or Arch or Sellers next year, right?
Nobody.
Like, nobody. That's why you take a guy like Shuck. Do you do it in the second? No. I don't know why they did that. I would have rather have had Dylan Gabriel or Will Howard or Quinn Ewers win the 7th than Shuck. And but they're also the same situation. Like, if you suck with him, we're not going to complain when you use your 2nd or 3rd overall pick to go and take a quarterback next year. So I guess that's the one, like, silver lining for Saints fans. I don't have much expectations for him, though. I do think it's going to be interesting to see who starts between him and Haener and Rattler, and are we going to play that game? And is Carr playing at all? I don't think he is. I don't think he wants to play for the Saints or this regime of the Saints at all. I think he's going to have his surgery and just be done for the year, and maybe for good. We'll see, but I think it's going to be a rotating door of starters.
I think he'll come back. I think he'll get one more shot.
He'll probably be the Steelers starter next year when Aaron Rodgers retires.
There you go. Any minute now. So we'll
the Browns guys. I think Shedeur is better than Dylan Gabriel, and I still have him higher than Dylan Gabriel in my rankings, even though Gabriel was a 3rd round pick, and maybe it was Jimmy Haslam forcing the issue here. for the Browns. But I didn't get the Gabriel thing. He's a very, he's Chase Daniel to me. Like, he's Chase Daniels. Like, that's what he is. That's what he should be. And that's why he got drafted in the third, because he did all the things that Shedeur didn't do. I will hold a clipboard. I will pay attention in meetings. I will take notes. I will help and tell the quarterback what I see when he comes to this sideline, and all of that while I'm trying to grow. Like, he is a team captain personality. Shedeur kind of isn't. He's I'm your guy, and if not, screw you. Like, that's kind of his attitude. So that's why Shedeur dropped, and Gabriel got drafted in the third, is because he does all the little things right. So I really respect him as a player and a person, but I don't think he's anywhere near Shedeur Sanders in terms of talent. So I'm going to still have Sanders ahead.
Well, I think my just take on the whole Shedeur thing is that he made it clear probably the places he wanted to be and didn't want to be. Maybe he didn't take some of those other meetings as seriously as he should have. And the NFL, I think, has had enough of that, just collectively. They said, all right, we'll call your bluff on this one. And in the process, Shedeur Sanders ended up costing himself $40 million. That's the truth of it. So the truth of it, the arrogance cost you $40 million. And I'm with you. I still think Shedeur was at least probably the third best quarterback in this draft. And I think Shedeur is a quarterback that if his head's on right, you can probably win with if you surround him with talent. But, we'll see how he reacts. Now the work begins. Like, now you're here. Right. Maybe you take it the right way. Maybe you take it the wrong way. I hope that his father and I hope that the people around him are able to put him in the mindset of like, all right, well, now you're going to have to really go out there and prove it. And sometimes kids like that, that's exactly what they need to get the best version of themselves. Sometimes it goes completely the 100%. Other way too.
And he got humbled.
The other way too.
Well, he got humbled,
so we'll
and
see.
he needs to learn from it. That's the thing. Does he learn from it? Does he?
I think he will.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he will, because I think his father's going to put him.
I still think he's smart.
I think he's very smart, and I think that his father in his ear saying, "Look, son, now you got to realize that now it's about money. This ain't about moving to schools and putting yourself in the best situation. You put yourself in the best situation maybe you could have, and then you didn't follow through. So now what are you going to do? You're going to follow through, or you're going to be a rapper? What the hell are you going to do? That's what you're going to figure out. All right, let's move on to the wide receivers next, because there's definitely some takes I want from Scott Bogman. But before we do, I want to tell you all about DraftKings, because now's the best time if you're a basketball fan to win some cash. All the thrills of playoff drama, they're here with DraftKings Pick 6. So Pick 6 posterizes the competition, including prize picks. Right now, when you hit all your picks, you'll score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6 than flex plays or prize picks. And best of all, you'll win even more cash if you can outscore the competition. So basketball playoffs are here. Get into it and cash with Pick 6 from DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use that promo code Fantasy Pros. That's Fantasy Pros for new customers to play $5 and you get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's take a look at the wide receivers. Let's start with Ted McMillan here, going to the Carolina Panthers. This one was tough for me, Boggs, because on night one when this happened, it wasn't my ideal landing situation. I like the coach. I like the Carolina Panthers absolutely made a lot of progress at the end of last year. I understand the volume is going to be there. I threw the line out to Debro, who loves this selection because of all the volume. Debro, he loves the volume. He turns it all the way up. His Monster energy drink has him at 11 at all times. But I'm thinking like it's 900 yards and it's 4 touchdowns. Like, can he be a touchdown machine? Can he be the Mike Evans in this offense too?
He's not Mike Evans, but he can be the Mike Evans of this offense for sure. And I think this is such a good landing spot for multiple reasons. The first one is there's a number 1 wide receiver spot open, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Like, they took Leggett last year. He is not a number 1. I think that's pretty clear. I think he'd be a solid number 2, even better number 3, but he's not a number 1. So Tet can come in here and immediately be the number 1. And they did fix a lot on the defense, I feel like, in this draft, but their defense was still miserable last year. I don't know if it's going to be a 1-season turnaround like the Chargers were last season. I think it may take a little bit. So they should be losing in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and a lot of games still. And they're going to have to throw. And now he is going to be the guy leading in those targets, garbage time, and garbage touchdowns count the same as the other ones, Joey. So I love this landing spot for Teteroa McMillan, and I think he is going to be the immediate number one on this team. So yeah, I have him ranked fairly high.
I had to take him this morning as my 104 pick. I guess I got
Had
to.
to. You
I
got
had
to. You had the
to.
privilege of taking
I had
Teteroa
the privilege.
McMillan.
No, he's a really good player, and again, I think a good kid who I think is going to be successful. But I still have my doubts about Bryce Young at this level. You know that. I've said that many times.
That's fair. But if they suck again, I think the one thing you can count on in this class is quarterbacks, at least early. I really like Nussmeier. I really like Sellers. I don't know if Arch is coming out, but if he does, he's 1-1. Everybody kind of already has that.
And at the same time, too, you're in a spot where that defense is so bad still, I think, that you're going to have to throw the football. So that's that's a good thing for fantasy. That's for sure.
But real quick, though, why is Travis Hunter not on this list? Travis Hunter should be number one.
Okay, let's talk. I don't know why he's not on this list either. I grabbed this list.
Probably
it
listed
was
as
sorted.
CB.
That's the problem. It was sorted differently. So let's talk about Travis Hunter, because he will be the number 2 to BTJ. That's for sure in Jacksonville. Right?
Yes. Brian Thomas was amazing last season.
So you would still have Tet McMillan over Travis Hunter in fantasy? No. You have Travis Hunter. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think this is like a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, type of deal, where you have 2 number 1s. You really don't have a number 2 in this offense. And I think Travis Hunter, just as a wide receiver, is better. I'll say this. I did look early at the Dynasty rankings for Travis Hunter, and I feel like rankers are way higher overall than I am on Travis Hunter. I think he was like wide receiver 16 or 15, somewhere in that range. When I looked yesterday, I have him a little bit lower than that. I have him at 25. I'm going to have him in a crew of like, he could be 25 to 20, 19, somewhere in that range, right? Because Fitz brought this up, and I can't get it out of my head of, well, what if he's just way better at corner? And they go, okay, look, as good as he is a wide receiver, he has to play corner for us.
See, that's my concern too. Or the wear and tear of playing both again leads to higher injury, and that's why I had McMillan over Hunter, and that's why I took him at 104 and I passed on Hunter. Hunter was still there, but I passed on him, knowing that, look, I really love the talent of Travis Hunter. I could just gush about the kind of player he is, his love of football,
that cuts
all
both
that
ways.
stuff. But it does
that cuts both ways, because it could be, well, look, he's just such a good wideout. He's amazing. We can't have him play corner. We got to figure out defense some other way, and he needs to be our primary wideout. So I think it does cut both ways. For that, I'm a little lower on him in the overall, but in this class, he's still, like, to me, it's just like, well, I know Hunter is the best player among all of these guys, so I just need to have him first.
Fair enough.
And I'll take the risk. I'll take the risk on him, is my opinion.
Emeka Egbuka, a lot of people were surprised by this pick, but if you're Tampa and you're looking at how good Baker Mayfield's been the last 2 years, you want to keep this train going. And the train is coming to its destination eventually with Mike Evans. And Chris Godwin, too, who's had a myriad of injuries the last couple of years. I thought this was a very shrewd look to the future, where on their board, he must have been just the best player available. And they said, screw it, we're doing that. And when you do that, that's when you turn your organization more into what the Baltimore Ravens have become. And nobody wants to hear that kind of stuff, but that's what they sit there. They sit there every year, and they the best player available, and every year they're in the playoffs. And the next year
do
they
it
get
every
the best player
pick.
available. So I know for fantasy it's going to kick some people in the nuts until we maybe hit a brick wall finally with the age of Mike Evans, which is not impossible. Until Chris Godwin's slow to recover, or
he's coming off another major injury this year.
I think it was actually, they took a lot of heat for this. Not for me. How's that? That's my point of this. I think this was a very shrewd pick. What did you think of it?
Yeah, look, I think that it was it was definitely like you described it. It was, this is the best player on our board. We don't care about need. We're going to take the guy that we think is best. I think the Panthers did that too with Teteroa McMillan, right? It was, this is the best guy on our board. We have other positions we need way more. It doesn't matter. It's the first round. You take the best player. We'll fill in need in the other rounds. And that's what they did here. Look, I still have him at 4th among wide receivers. I got Hunter, McMillan, and Golden ahead of him. That's it. Then it's Emeka Egbuka. And again, the draft capital has to play in here. You're a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. That is enormous. That's huge value for a guy like that. And he's just such a good player. He got overshadowed by Garrett Wilson and JSN and Chris Olave and Jeremiah Smith last year, right? Marvin Harrison. Like, Ohio State has had so many unbelievable, great wide receivers that he gets overshadowed by a lot of these guys. But Egbuka was right in the middle of that group. He's as good as a lot of those guys. So a good pick here for the Bucks, a great player. And we'll see. Yes, it's crowded, but it's crowded for the other guys. It ain't crowded for Egbuka. It's Evans and Egbuka are your 1-2. Then we'll figure out Godwin coming off an injury and McMillan after that.
I'll tell you what, I'm low-key buying McMillan everywhere in Dynasty because I think people will overreact to that. Oh, maybe he's going to get buried. No. He's one of the younger guys, and he showed you last year he has a nose for the end zone. Matthew Golden was the next guy, so I'm sure Fitzy got in your ear about that too. Oh, my goodness. Oh, gee whiz. The cheese went bad for Pat Fitzmaurice in Green Bay. He was not happy about the Matthew Golden pick. Look, Golden was arguably my favorite wide receiver to watch last season, so yeah, I understand why they did this, but at the same time, I understand Fitzy's frustration. So let's talk about fantasy impact for Golden here, because there are a lot of dudes to choose from. Does he become another one of these, he's good 1 week and you don't hear from another 3 weeks kind of guys in Green Bay like we've seen? Or is this the change in the pattern?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he's got enough. He's got more juice than anybody on that team already in terms of speed and twitchiness, athleticism, right? So I think he's adding a speed element to this team that is filled with a bunch of wide receiver twos, right? Like I think Jaden Reed is great, but for whatever reason, they kept taking him off the field. Also, Romeo Doubs has had concussions and was a little crybaby last year, so I think getting him off the field would be outstanding. Christian Watson just blew out his knee. Dontavian Wicks didn't live up to his sleeper tag that we had on him last season, right? So I think this is just, let's get Jordan Love to be, let's surround him with weapons. They have Jacobs in the backfield. Let's get him some targets. And they said this is the first wide receiver the Packers selected in the first since 2002, Javon Walker. So I think he has enough juice. I understand he was a late bloomer in terms of the process. He wasn't the best at Houston. Then he transfers to Texas, and it seemed like he was buried with the Longhorns. He wasn't supposed to be a guy that was on the field every snap this season going in, and he beat out a lot of 5-star recruits. So I think he's a great option. I have him just ahead of Egbuka.
The Texans went wide receiver shopping in a big way. Jaden Higgins, another one of my favorites in this process, and Debro's favorite, Jalen Knoll. So not one, but two guys here. I think this tells you exactly that Tank Dell's career is in huge jeopardy. In case you couldn't figure that out already, that's definitely the case. And the Stephon Diggs experiment did not work. Now, would I have liked them to pick a little bit more offensive line help earlier? Probably. But at the same time, as the kids like to say, it is what it is. What do you think of Higgins and Knoll in this landing spot here with C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I mean, a big boost for C.J. Stroud, right? I mean, let's get him some targets here. These are excellent ones as well. So I think it really helps C.J. Stroud. I think for Higgins, it's not perfect for either one of these guys because there's a better version of Higgins on this team already in Nico Collins. So, but having two Higgins, I think, is fantastic. And they need a slot guy. John Mechie has kind of proven not to be the guy. They've kicked around some other guys. It just has not worked for them. So can he push Christian Kirk? I don't know. We'll see. But I love the landing spot for both these guys because this is exactly what the Texans need. They need wide receivers, and they should both see field time this year.
All right, let's pop in Fatherman's question here real quick before we get to the next group of wide receivers. He had to run out, so we're sure he'll get it and he'll watch the show back because we love Fatherman. Big Longhorns fan, which we know, and of course, big Cowboys fan. So, boy, talk about the yin and the yang of disappointment and happiness. I need an outside opinion. Should I be excited as I am over my boy Blue from Texas landing with my Cowboys? Boggs?
100%. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think they're filling in the other role with other guys. I think the nice part about Blue landing in Dallas, is that his role is kind of solidified. He's going to be the 2-minute drill guy because he's such a good pass catcher. Maybe put a different back in there for pass blocking stuff, but I think he's on the field a bunch. I think he has 10 to 12 touches immediately, and you're filling in the other guys with Javonte Williams, who was miserable last year, Miles Sanders, who's coming at the end, and then Phil Maffa, who's an undrafted free agent for them. So the big guy role is between one of those guys. The quick, small guy pass catching back role is already Blues. So, yes, I think you should be happy.
All right, I think the Bears had their head up their ass in this draft. Not that they didn't take good players. I just don't understand what the hell they were doing, because it's like, okay, so they took Loveland, which we can have that conversation all day long. You paid Kmet, but you took Loveland, and I understand maybe Ben Johnson likes it more for the kind of offense he wants to run. And then they took Luther Burden, and I love it because when they popped up the comp on NFL Network during the draft, they said DJ Moore. And I thought to myself, oh, if only they had DJ Moore already on this roster and not a bunch of other holes to fill. I don't know what they were thinking about there. Besh, I like this selection a lot, actually, for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not sure where you are with Besh. I don't know if you and I have talked about him as much. I know with Sealy and Deeb, I talked about Besh a little bit as kind of like a sleeper guy to keep an eye out for. And Kyle Williams, a guy who certainly can create some separation, has speed, some explosiveness. The Patriots are historically terrible at the NFL draft. I actually was pretty happy what they came away with, especially when they got the center late from Georgia. I thought that was a steal there. So, Williams, Burden, Besh. Talk to me about those guys. Tell me what your thoughts are on those three and how soon, if ever, they're going to make impacts.
Man, Burden, I just went back and forth so much. I was actually talking with our boy Erickson, right? And I said, man, I think I'm going to have Harris ahead of Burden. I just love the landing spot. There's no competition for him. It's so crowded in Chicago. You have Colson Loveland, you have Roma Dunzi, you have DJ Moore. And then he said, did you have Harris ahead of Burden going in? And I said, no. And then I got to thinking about it. I did the same crowded nonsense with Ricky Pearsall last year. And that might have been maybe a worse block situation. But it worked out for him. I think it's going to work out for Burden too. Like, I just think the talent is there. I know 2024 wasn't his best year. He was banged up. His quarterback, Brady Cook, was banged up. So it wasn't his best film year. You go back to 2023, he's a top 15 pick. So I think him falling is just like, I think the Bears were just sitting there like, this is by far the best value. We have to take him. He's by far our best player. So I think that's what was going on there. Besh, just an immediate role in Vegas. I think that's right. Amazing. Yeah. It's Jacoby Myers and nobody. It's Scott and Keaton, right? Like, they don't have anybody. So I think there's an immediate role there for him. He is a culture guy. He is a motor guy. I think that's very good. He's a very, very good
Carroll kind of player.
Pete Carroll.
Like. That, as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah. Like, if I was, I'm a Pete Carroll kind of coach myself. You know this about me, Boggs. I'm running up and down the field and very excied, and I'm doing all this.
Of course, you gotta have. You wouldn't have loved him if he would have handed the ball off to Lynch. You would not like him right now.
No, well, we have that conversation over and over again. But he gets a handoff to Lil Marshawn now for forever. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. And then the last one here, Kyle Williams, which was one that, again, I don't want to say surprising, Boggs, but at first it jarred me, and then I thought, okay, yeah, I kind of see where they're coming from. Some people call him the upside is Stephon Diggs, and I thought, well, if that's the style offense of player you think is going to gel with Drake May, you have whatever's left of Stephon Diggs this year, maybe you can have eventually that role turn into what Kyle Williams could do in that offense in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird fit a little bit. He brings speed. Your team needed speed.
And May has the ability to get out of the pocket,
right,
extend plays, which is not something, Patriot fans are used to. Bledsoe, Brady over the years, not so much. Mac Jones, Cam Newton could get out of the pocket. He just couldn't throw to anybody. But at the same time, now you're
get out of the pocket that well when you guys had him.
That's true. By the time he got there, he wasn't moving too well either. But, you look at May's ability to extend the plays, and he's got a big arm. I don't see why, Williams can't eventually find success. I don't think it's going to be immediate, but I think there's at least some upside there.
I think so. He's kind of a weird case, right? Because he played so much outside of Washington State, and he's not a get-off guy. He's not going to get off blocks and deal with physical corners very well. So I think he's probably going to be more pushed towards the inside to the slot role. That's where they have Demario Douglas. That's where Diggs does his best work, right? Like, out of the slot. So it's kind of a weird fit in terms of they need this type of player, but where does he fit? So that was kind of concerning. But the bottom line is they need the juice. They need speed on this offense. So I think he'll play. I think it actually hurts Douglas more than it does anything else. So I just think that it's kind of a weird fit, but what they need is speed, and that's what he brings. So I think we'll see him more often than you expect in year one.
And that's what brings us to our Chasing Challenges segment, brought to you by Microsoft. Just like the athletes who push boundaries and redefine what's possible, business decision makers today are turning challenges into opportunities, and Microsoft meets UR with the tools and guidance to help you make an impact with safe, secure AI solutions. So whatever challenges you're facing, Microsoft empowers you with the expertise to say, bring it on. And in this segment, we're going to spotlight the challenges of the New England Patriots in the draft over the last 10 years. Just 3 Pro Bowlers. It's not a very good record. They needed a good draft really bad. And they needed to bring this organization into the future. And by future, I mean, I don't know, maybe like 2016, 2017. Like, that's how far behind the New England Patriots fell towards the end of the Belichick era. Tom Brady covered up so many warts time and time again for this organization. And eventually he couldn't cover them up either. He left, won a Super Bowl, and ever since they've been toiling in obscurity. Now they have a quarterback, now they have a coach, they have a culture that they can rebound with, and an owner that actually really cares about winning, which is also nice to have. But you got to start drafting better and putting some bodies on the field, and start looking like an offense that's meant to look like it plays in 2025 in the NFL. That's something the Patriots have not had in quite some time. So they whiffed on Lamar Jackson years ago. I thought for sure Bill Belichick was going to draft him and say, oh, look, I'm going to be ahead of the curve again in the NFL. But once he whiffed on him, I knew the dog days were coming, and it would be the end of the dynasty. Maybe Mike Vrabel and company in this draft can start to rebuild the Patriots organization. And that is this week's Chasing Challenges segment. Remember, Microsoft AI solutions empower you to make bold steps and have new ideas to help drive your business forward. With Microsoft as your trusted partner, you can navigate your journey with confidence, finding innovative solutions and reaching new possibilities. Visit Microsoft.com/challengers to learn more. Boggs, let's turn our attention to the running backs here. Ashton Jeanty, I mean, could it get any better than this? Probably not. The team that's worst in the NFL gets the best running back after being the worst at running the football last year. So a huge turnaround, but it's not all about Jeanty. You got to have the offensive line and the system in place. So are you confident that everything is in place now for Jeanty to be successful?
Can he work past the line? Yes, that's all that matters. Like, can he get past the line of scrimmage? If he can, then he's super hard to pull down. The contact balance is insane. He can catch the ball in open space. He can run by you, past you, around you, and over you. I mean, he's my 4th running back already in Dynasty League. So, yeah, this is an excellent pick by the Raiders. It resets the entire scope of the offense by taking a guy like Ashton Jeanty.
Is he a top 10 pick overall in redraft?
Yeah, he might be. I haven't put my redraft. I just did my Dynasty last night. I'm going to be working on redraft tomorrow. I think he's at least borderline first-round pick for sure. Probably a top 10 pick, though. Yes.
I think he's right. I think from a roster construction
get 20 touches a game at least.
Well, right now the consensus he's at 13, right? Now, we're talking about when we get to there, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown at 9, Brian Thomas at 10, Malik Neighbors at 11, Derrick Henry at 12. If you can get Jeanty and Henry at the turn, right? Or A.J. Brown and Jeanty at the turn, something to that effect, that's a pretty damn good start, Box. Like, yep. I think I'd be pretty happy with that. And I'm somebody, you know me, I'm not necessarily the guy taking RBs to start my drafts. That's not how I roll. But if I'm at the turn, I'm real hard-pressed not to be looking at Jeanty long and hard there. Omarion Hampton, man, I thought Denver was going to go ahead and take him. Instead, now they have one of the best cornerback duos in the league. So I get it.
Baby.
I get it. Oh, baby, indeed. It's sexy. It's real good.
Riley
they did get an
Moss,
RB.
Too?
I know. That's
real
to
good. Shut down Kansas City defense. That's Denver right now.
Hot take, man. I think Kansas City's in trouble for that division this year. I think it's going to be way more competitive for that division. We'll see.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Omarion Hampton lands with the Chargers, another team that loves to run the football. Now, they did sign Najee Harris in the offseason, so I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this. What are the feelings they should have, Boggs?
Yeah, they should have. Omarion Hampton is amazing, and he's the number 2 player in this draft in a regular standard PPR league. Superflex, let's maybe still take Cam Ward over him just because QBs are so hard to come by, and there's no other ones you can get in this draft. But Omarion Hampton is an absolute stud. He runs with violence. This is what they want to do. This is a Harbaugh built offense, right? It's run, 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 run. That's why you get 2 bruisers in here like Hampton and Najee. And I think Najee is an amazing human being, a grade
Sure,
A
absolutely.
personal person, great, awesome man. He's mediocre as a running back anymore, right? Like he has athleticism, he has hops, he has stamina, doesn't have vision. He's been banged up and he's always played through his injuries, but they've clearly slowed him down. I don't think he's the same guy he was coming into Pittsburgh. So I think this is bad news for Najee, great news for Omarion Hampton because this
Mhm.
is exactly what the Chargers want to do. And they went in the first round and took him. That's a rarity for any running back. And who are the first round running backs? It's Bijan and Gibbs, and they're both 1-2.
Yep.
So Genty is now in that group, and so is Omarion Hampton. So I think I'm higher on Omarion Hampton overall than I feel like a lot of people are, but a lot of people are also high on him. So he's this is a very, very, very good landing spot. And I think people are kind of wishy-washy because of Najee. Najee's just not that good.
We had a running back renaissance last year, and I'm not surprised because I know in the Black Book I kept
Play
talking
is
about.
bad.
Well, I said that quarterback play is inexperienced and bad, and that's a bad
Yeah.
combination, right? So I don't think that's going to turn around anytime soon. I got to be honest with you. So I think you might see again the rebirth of running back get a second birth. In round two, Quinshon Judkins went to the Browns, Travion Henderson to the Patriots, and R.J. Harvey to the Broncos. So let's break down these 3 guys here and their landing spots. I was a little surprised that Henderson went to the Patriots there, but I get it, with McDaniels coming back to run, that offense where they like to throw the ball a lot to the running backs. Travion Henderson certainly fits that role. Judkins, you get a lot of mixed people on Judkins. Some people love Judkins, some people don't. And then Harvey, again, they needed a running back so bad here in Denver. Did they select the right one? Let's talk about these 3 guys here: Judkins, Henderson, and Harvey.
Yeah, I really like this group, and I have these guys in a tier, right? Like, and Henderson is my number 1. I love the landing spot with the Patriots because you don't have the targets. They're going to run the ball a lot. It's going to be a lot of
Mhm.
Ramondre and a lot of Henderson this season, and he's a guy that doesn't need a lot, like we described Achan when he was coming in, right? He doesn't need a
Right.
million touches to make an impact. He needs 12 to 15, and you hope one of those is a big chunk play, maybe for a touchdown, right? I think when you get near the goal line, they're giving the ball to Stevenson. Let him take the work through the traffic, and because Henderson's been banged up in college as well. But I really like this is a pick that they needed. It's perfect for McDaniels, as you mentioned, and he's going to be the main pass catcher. And they really soured on Stevenson when he started fumbling a bunch. So love this pick for the Patriots. Judkins to Cleveland is immediately the number 1 running back. He's way, way, way better than Jerome Ford. Jerome
Mhm.
Ford's got a lot of experience. Maybe that beats out Judkins early, but
Maybe in
Judkins has the
September,
juice.
but I think by
Right.
October, but by the time we get near Halloween, it's trick or treat, man. Like it's
I'm
Judkins
more
time.
worried about Sampson than I am Jerome Ford for Judkins, right? But I think we saw Judkins do some of his best work working with Henderson last
Right.
season. So I think it's fine for Judkins. So I have him directly behind Henderson. And then RJ Harvey, who I did not have above Cam, or Caleb Johnson. I put him above both those guys post draft because in Denver, they have nobody. Jaleel McLaughlin is not that good. I don't think Audric Estime is fast enough. I think Audric Estime is what half the people thought about Cam Scatterbo in this draft. Like he just doesn't have the juice to make it in the league. So he's a short yardage only type of guy. RJ Harvey's undersized. I don't care. He's a bowling ball. UCF ran 66% of the time, almost 70% running the ball, and he was your main guy, and he did the work. He's handled a big workload before, a lot like, undersized. So is Chase Brown. Chase Brown is undersized. Look how good he was at
Hmm.
the end of the season. Running back careers are short regardless of size. So I don't really care about size if you can run the football. Genty's short. Don't care. Mini Marchand, right? So I think RJ Harvey had to get a boost because he is by far the best running back on this roster day one. So
Hmm.
I think they're going to have a hard time taking him off the field once he grips that starting job.
I know we're jumping ahead, but since you mentioned it, is Scadaboo fast enough to make it in the NFL?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
he
know he's
is.
tough enough. I know he wants it enough, but
It doesn't matter if he's fast enough because he's going to knock you over and pick up 3 more yards anyway.
yeah,
So,
but that's a lot easier to do in college than it is in the NFL. It's a lot
yeah, but
easier to
he
do
did
than when you play. I'm just
level.
saying, when you're playing against the Eagles and you're playing against some of these other teams in the NFC, like that. That is a question. I like
He
Scadaboo.
did it
You know
against
me.
9 NFL starters against
Fair.
the
That's a
Texas
great point against
defense,
Texas.
right?
Yeah, he sure
Like
did. He sure did.
he
That was his
ran
best game
them
of the year.
right over. And these guys are getting drafted in the second, third, fourth round. These aren't scrubs. Shadai Barron went in the first, right? Like this was a strong defense. Colin Williams was defensive freshman of the season. Anthony Hill's going to go in the first round next year at linebacker, right? He did it against an NFL level defense already and looked amazing. I look, he didn't run because running would not have helped him in the process. So we could talk about how he ducked the process all he wants, all you want. And look, it's not the best landing spot. That's why I have him behind RJ Harvey, behind Caleb Johnson, guys that I also like, but didn't like as much as Cam coming
Mhm.
in. But because Singletary's there, he's still a vet. They like Tyrone Tracy a lot. He fumbled the ball a bunch. They like Tyrone Tracy a lot, but I think he's better than both those guys right now. So yes,
So you
I'm
think Scadaboo could actually take over this backfield for the Giants?
by the end of the season. Look, beating Singletary is going to be tough. He comes in and everybody has counted him out a million times, and he's just been good his whole career. He's
Yeah,
been
he's just fine. He's just
NFL
fine.
decent. Yeah,
NFL
exactly.
decent. There you go. NFL decent. Look, Caleb Johnson, I love. And I love the landing spot. They needed
Yeah.
help at the running back position in the worst way. Your Pittsburgh Steelers. Boggs, I'll let you talk about this one. You're Mr. Steeler. This had to be exactly what you wanted for Christmas.
Yes, I mean I wanted one of these running backs, so I was very happy to get Cam Johnson. Doesn't even have to change color
Caleb
scheme.
Johnson. Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, Caleb Johnson. I
We,
keep
we
saying
had too
Cam
much
Scatterbo.
Scadaboo on the brain. We got
That's
Scadaboo
right.
for a second.
It happens.
All the time.
But Caleb is an outstanding runner. Doesn't have a lot of juice receiving the ball. They don't pass the ball at Iowa, right? But Jalen
Mhm.
Warren can handle those snaps. I think he is the Thunder to Jalen Warren's Lightning. I think he'll get more carries by the end of the season. I think Jalen Warren is kind of proven to be one of those guys. He needs 10 to 12 touches. You start giving him 15 plus, and he starts to wear down. He's a smaller back and, a little skinny. It makes him harder to catch, and he's a really good NFL running back. But Caleb is your thunder. So I'm all about Caleb being in Pittsburgh, and they get their first round pick Troy Fatanu back on the line this year as well. Zach Frazier was awesome. Like the O line is rebuilt now in Pittsburgh, so they don't have a quarterback. I expect them to run the ball a ton, so there should be a lot of carries there for Caleb as well.
Bashal Tootin, who I saw Warren Sharp had some great stuff on Tootin in terms not just obviously the speed, but also basically making the argument that he's a lot better back than people realize in terms of breaking tackles and in terms of what he brings to the table. What do you think about Tootin in this landing spot here with Jacksonville? New head coach, new regime there. Travis Etienne, not good last year. Is there a path for Tootin? I know it's a crowded backfield, but do you think there's opportunity for him?
Yeah, and I think the main point that you made right there is new coaching staff. So now you have a new coaching staff coming into Jacksonville, and they are going to assess and get their guys. Well, the guys that they draft are their guys, right?
Right.
So Tootin is his guy. He's Cohen's dude. So we'll see. I mean, I think you draft this guy with this much juice and this much speed with the backs that you have in ETN and Bigsby on the roster already. You have to have a plan for him. So I have him directly behind Cam Scadaboo in a different tier, but I have him right there with Dylan Sampson, DJ Giddens, Jaden Blue, who we talked about a little bit earlier. So I have him in that group of running backs, and I think, I might be low on him. I really love Cam Scadaboo, but Cohen has a plan. He's directed some really strong offenses. So I like this landing spot in Jacksonville because he's got to be head of the class because they handpicked him. They didn't handpick ETN. They didn't handpick Bigsby. Whole new staff coming in.
Is there a running back landing spot? Maybe is it Giddens or James or even Blue for that matter, where you think there's a little bit of maybe some deep sleeper appeal in redraft leagues based on landing spot?
Yeah, I think a couple of those guys you just named, Neal, I think pushes Kendry Miller off the roster immediately, or at least to
1,000%. The
a
Kendrick
third or
Miller
fourth
experiment is
role.
done. It's
Yeah.
done.
And again, new coaching staff, handpicked. That's their guy.
Right.
Jordan James, like, I don't believe anything the Niners have to say about Christian McCaffrey, and I never will again. So I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is actually going to be ready and what his role is going to look like this year. And Garendo is the only guy behind him. They traded Jordan Mason to Minnesota. So I love this spot for Jordan James. I don't think it will be that hard for him to push Garendo
And a great
for
system,
that second
right?
spot. Yeah, and a great system, and surrounded by all kinds of talent. Couple guys you didn't mention, Taj Brooks for Cincinnati. I just think there's no one behind him right now. It's the ghosts of Samaje Perine and Zach Moss, who will hurt his elbow for the 98th. Like, I'm just done with Zach Moss. So I think this is a great landing spot for him. And he's a size back, and Chase Brown is small. So give him some of those tough first, second downs, 3rd and 1s, goal line. I think that he already has a role there. Kyle Monangai for Chicago, Joey. I mean, this one, again, hand-picked, right? We've seen DeAndre Swift not work for Ben Johnson already.
Right.
It was nice they didn't draft somebody higher in terms of his value and all of that. But I mean, Monangai is now you beat Roshan. Roshan has a role on special teams no matter what, so he's not going to get bounced off the roster. But if you're better than Roshan, and again, a hand-selected guy by this coaching staff, and Kyle Monangai, I think that there is a little bit there. A couple guys that I knocked. I hate Jarquez Hunter landing with the Rams. I like him as a player, but I think Blake Corum is leaps and bounds better than him, and he's behind Kyron. They didn't give him anything last year. So what are they going to do with Jarquez, who they took a round later than Corum, right? I just thought it was a weird fit. Woody Mark's role gives him less upside than some of these other guys. He is a pass catching only type of a back. There's just not much more expansion in his game than that. Trevor Etienne, I just straight up don't like. I don't like him that much. Couldn't win a job at Georgia. Georgia's a tough spot. Couldn't beat out Montreal Johnson in Florida. Like, he's just not my favorite running back in this class. So Carolina's a good spot because Brooks, is he ever going to play again? We'll see. But didn't love the landing spot.
Keep the conversation going on our Discord, fantasybros.com/chat. Go join there and talk NFL draft. Go join a Dynasty League in one of our channels there for leagues. Or you could just be on some of the shows, because we've got live shows happening on our Discord where you can be on them, ask your questions, get your answers, and also be part of the show. I want to hear from all of you too. Drop your comments below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel right here on Fantasy Pros. Let us know your favorite, your least favorite picks of the draft. Who's going to be a star? Who's going to be a dud? We love hearing from all of you. So drop those comments, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell till it goes ding so you don't miss a second of any of our post-draft coverage here on Fantasy Pros. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Scott Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Scattaboo.
I can't wait for the Aaron Rodgers signing. Ooh, can't wait for it.
I can wait.
It's coming soon. Let's go, Boggs.
Ugh.
Held
No
hostage.
Thank you.
Mason
Let's go,
Rudolph
Will
time.
Howard. Will Howard.
Yikes.